take this conversation because I want it to be meaningful for you guys. Okay?
Okay.
All good? Awesome. So, you are what you eat. We're going to talk about nutrition. We're going to talk about food. And what I want to have a conversation about is really what it is you're putting into your body and what it really does for your body. So, most people, most Americans, eat a lot of things, but very little of it is actually food. So how would you define food versus what a lot of people eat, if what a lot of people eat technically isn't food? How do you know the difference?
Whatever you eat should be nourishing.
Whatever you eat should be nourishing, should be, good, yep. So what happens?
I would say fresh.
Fresh, good, love it. So fresh and nourishing, okay? So what is it that people are eating? Don't have to name items, but categorize it. What are a lot of people eating that isn't food?
Anything
What is
processed, really?
bread? What else?
Chemicals, additives.
Chemicals, and at the end of the ingredient list, yeah.
Soda.
Soda. What else?
Most of the stuff in the middle of the grocery store.
Most of the stuff in the middle of the grocery store. Perfect.
Ice cream.
Ice cream.
Fast food.
Fast food. So categorically, what do you call all those things?
Junk food.
Yeah, junk food. Perfect. So the fact that in America we make food that we know is junk, junk food, you are what you eat. So if you're eating junk food, you're turning your body into junk. By definition, that's the problem. And we go bankrupt trying to fix the problems that that causes. And instead of addressing the source of the problem, the foods that aren't food, the things people eat that violate the DNA in the body, we end up paying billions of dollars to treat the illnesses. We're going to spend $280 billion this year treating Alzheimer's. Just that category, just Alzheimer's. $280 billion just for Alzheimer's. Just this year. Do you think the number's going down or up?
Yeah. I mean, up.
Up. Up. So that's just Alzheimer's. That's not even directly a digestive issue, but it's a completely digestive issue. So I just want you to think about that you are what you eat and the choices you make. Because I have no idea how many actual pieces of fruit are in there, but there's not a person. It's just all fruits. But when you sum total of what you're supposed to eat, that's what's supposed to make you up. All those foods are supposed to make the cells in your body. I was talking to the 5th graders in an elementary school the other day, and I told them that they have over 70 trillion cells. I had to write the number on the board because it means nothing to them. 70 trillion. It means most people won't know anything about that number, 70 trillion. But I told them to think about the sand on the beach, 70 trillion. Like that's a huge number. And the only number I wanted to make them think about that was bigger than 70 trillion was the number of bacteria that are supposed to be in your gut. If you have 70 trillion human cells, you know how many bacteria you're supposed to have in your gut? 100 trillion. By design, you're more bacteria than you are human. And the bacteria require food. And bacteria don't do very well with processed and refined food. Unhealthy bacteria do. Yeast do. And in your gut, you're supposed to have all kinds of bacteria and yeast. And yeast thrives on sugar. And just like in bread, it gives off gas. And it creates bloating. It creates lots of problems and issues with people's guts. And if you look at the American, if you look at x-rays, I can show you x-ray upon x-ray. Most people have bloating issues in their x-rays. I shouldn't see it on an x-ray. But I can see the contrast of air to tissue on an x-ray, which means there's an excess amount of gas somewhere up in here. Not like it's coming out of the body. It's bloated up into parts of the intestine. So I want them to see that because when it's not functioning normally, you're causing the bacteria or the germs in your body to get sick. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Bacteria make vitamins. Bacteria make biotin and vitamin K in your body. They make lots of different things that your body requires to be healthy. And if you feed the body the wrong foods, I want you to see that you're going to feed the wrong bacteria. And the wrong bacteria make the wrong ingredients in your body. And those ingredients are required to make your cells healthy. And if you don't eat that food, your cells get sick. And categorically, that's our problem. Is that cellularly, at the 70 trillion level in the body, that's where we're sick. And the accumulation of that are the symptoms that we have. So you are what you eat, and you got to be careful. Because that's some people. You are what you eat. I mean, picture what that's going to do to the body and what that's going to create. And that's what we suffer from, is inflammation. How would you describe inflammation? Does that word mean anything to you? What's inflammation?
Swelling.
Swelling. Perfect. Where do you know, where have you experienced inflammation in the body? Everywhere. Perfect. But give me an example.
In my back.
In your back. So randomly or specifically at a level of a problem?
Randomly or specifically?
Do you think your body swells randomly, or does it swell exactly where it swells on purpose?
On purpose.
On purpose. You ever twisted your ankle? Does it stay the same size when you twist your ankle, or does it change size? So it swells, and the swelling, the inflammation, is proportional to the damage that you've done to the joint. So it doesn't inflame by accident. The other ankle didn't swell. And people with swelling, with inflammation, don't have a problem with their body. Their body is responding perfectly. The problem is that there's a functional problem in the body, and so the body uses special chemicals that cause inflammation. Chemicals like histamine. Almost everyone knows the word histamine. Most people don't know bradykinin and leukotrienes, but they come from the cholesterol molecule in the body. So if you live your life in an inflamed state where inflammation is running rampant, then you need a lot of chemicals to deal with or create the inflammation. Which means you need the chemical that creates those chemicals, and that chemical is cholesterol. Most people in America have a cholesterol issue, and they're put on a drug to stop their body from making it, without anybody ever identifying what the actual cause of why you've got high cholesterol is. Because 3/4 of the cholesterol in your body is made by the liver. The thing most people try and change is the foods they eat. They'll cut out foods high in cholesterol, right? What foods are high in cholesterol? What foods did doctors change in the diet of Americans?
Fats.
Fats.
Meat, butter.
Meat, butter, and
Eggs.
eggs. Right? An egg white omelet basically is a chef's response to a doctor's order. So we cut out the yellow of the egg because it's high in cholesterol. But eating cholesterol doesn't make you have high cholesterol. Your liver produces it, makes you have high cholesterol. So your liver's producing the cholesterol to address a problem. And all we do is cut it off instead of addressing the actual problem. And the actual problem is the body is inflamed. And anyone who has an inflammation problem has high cholesterol. And instead of treating the inflammation, people take a drug. And it solves nothing. But it brings down the cholesterol levels on a blood test. So I want you to see that you are what you eat, and you need to identify what are inflammatory foods. So what gives you inflammation? What would you say, what foods, we went through this, give you inflammation?
Wheat.
Wheat,
Wheat product.
we'll get to.
And sugar.
I'll rhyme it with you. I'll give you sweets. Okay? So artificial foods, sugars, those little packets on the table, grains, as your wheat and your corn, milk, usually upsets some people.
That's pretty funny.
It's very
see how
funny.
You just,
Are you kidding me?
Snuck that in.
I stuck that in there. I don't know how many people see that, but think about that for a minute. People are like, oh, that's gross. Like when we put the human on the cow, people are like, oh, that's normal. Right? It's disturbing. Just like, get the baby off the cow. Same problem. And bad fats. Bad fats. What's a good fat? How do you know a good fat from a bad fat?
You taught us.
How do I know he taught you? Not everyone has shown up for this conversation. So how do you know a good fat from a bad fat? Any ideas? What's a good fat? Can you name a good fat?
If it grows.
Avocados? If it grows. Good answer. Safe answer. Love it. If it grows. Avocados, nuts,
Coconut oil.
anything from the tropics. All those tropical oils are very good for you. Coincidentally, next week we're talking about vitamin D. Huge connection with vitamin D and eating anything from the tropics. Okay, we're gonna make that connection next week. But I want you to think about it. I tell the 5th graders and the 2nd graders even. I tell them if food grows, it's good for you. I say, where do lollipops grow? And they giggle. Where does a donut grow? And they giggle. They get it. They understand that it's not food. They love them because our bodies are primed to sense the ingredients in this. But because it's not natural, this is as simple as I can put it. Because it's not natural, it causes an unnatural reaction in your body. And unnatural is abnormal. And abnormal is the definition of every disease you can name. Cancer is abnormal cell function. Artery disease is abnormal accumulation of plaques in the arteries. It's abnormal. It doesn't get abnormal by accident. Your body is making the right choice 100 times out of 100. It's plaquing where it's plaquing on purpose, not by accident. People get clogged arteries and they've got this 7-inch straw on either side of their neck called a carotid artery. When they go to the cardiologist, and the cardiologist will say you've got a 20% block in the left artery and the right one's totally open. And they'll go, okay, great, doc. Instead of saying, are you kidding me? Why do I have a 20% block in one of my arteries? Because they both come right out of the heart under the same tube and goes right to the brain. Your brain doesn't want a differential. Your brain wants exactly identical. And nobody's talking about or addressing or helping a patient understand why there'd be a difference on one side to the other. Arteries don't clog in your body because the tube got too narrow and it came through and it got stuck, it got jammed, it got lodged in there. It doesn't get clogged in the tube, the hollow. It gets lodged in the wall. And it goes into the wall where it goes on purpose. Just like a policeman does a U-turn and chases a car with its lights on purpose. It's going after something. So I just want you to see that certain foods in your body cause reactions or tissue to change and become abnormal, which is what starts the disease process. And that doesn't happen when you eat vegetables grown normally. It doesn't happen when you eat fruits grown seasonally. It doesn't happen when you eat an animal that's allowed to live like an animal. But the minute you industrialize food production, you have to maintain it artificially. And that changes the food and it causes your body to sense that problem and produce an inflammatory reaction. And the inflammation takes your body from a normal state to an abnormal state. Have you seen a person who's inflamed? Do you know what they look like? What do they look like?
Oh, my one friend, she's on like prednisone. and
Prednisone. Perfect.
Her face blew up. She looked Chinese. Not, but her eyes got so squinty.
She was so swollen, her
Yeah.
eye visually were different.
Yep.
Her facial was different.
Yeah.
My best friend had brain cancer. He was on a huge dose of cortisol. I literally walked right by him. I didn't recognize him because he was so swollen. I didn't even recognize that it was him. So it absolutely does that. The chemicals, when you're someone's sick and they got the redness around the nose and the redness around the eyes and their ears even look red, anywhere where the inside of your body meets the outside of your body becomes very red because all the blood cells are going there to help fight foreign matter in your body. It's protecting your vulnerability points. And so histamine, leukotrienes, they cause a predictable change in your body. And it's an inflamed state, and it's very healthy for you when it's done on purpose to address a problem. It's very unhealthy when it's maintained for a chronic, more than 3 day, more than 72-hour period of time. Absolutely. So these foods cause inflammation. They cause that same reaction in your body as much as if you twist your ankle. Only it's twisting a blood vessel. And your blood starts to look like this. You ever gotten blood drawn? You ever seen what it looks like in a vial? This is why we should call it vial. This is blood and that's fat. There's no serum in here. It's all fat. I was cooking tacos for my kids the other week. And I took the meat. And after I cooked the meat, I drained it out of the pan. And I put it into a little plastic cup container. Like a soy sauce container. And I left it sitting there as liquid. My kids are like, what is that? And I'm like, it's fat. I'm like, why'd you put it in that? I said, because I don't want it in your body. I'm like, why? I said, watch what happens to it when it dries. It's exactly what it looked like when it dried. It separates into layers and then dried and hardened. which is exactly what it's going to do in the arteries. That's someone's blood after they ate fast food. They ate fast food, they went to take blood, and that's what the blood came out of their body. I was taught that in school in 1997. That was the last time I ate fast food. It's horrific. People do it every day, all day long. Tastes yummy. It kills the cell membranes in your brain. It's called excitotoxins, neurotoxins. They're toxic to the cells in your body, in your brain. Cells that never regenerate. And it causes them to break down, to fray, to get frazzled, to disassociate, to lack connections. To know what it feels like to have a connection lost, picture someone that you went to school with in second grade. Picture the entire classroom in your second grade. You probably could name 5, 6, 7, 10, depends on how close you are with your school, a bunch of the kids, but I guarantee there's someone you don't remember. You cannot remember them. But if you see a yearbook, and you saw that picture, you'd suddenly, oh my God, remember them. And you could probably tell a story that you remember about them in elementary school, but that you'd forgotten because you dropped that connection. But seeing them helps your brain get around another way to that neuron, and it's the back door to understanding and making that connection, to having that memory. But without that visual, you can't access that neuron. Neurotoxins break the connections, which make it harder to access the neurons. And if it's a physical one that helps you walk, your gait's now different. If it's a memory one, you forget that memory. They frazzle the brain and they accelerate all of the symptoms of major diseases, especially ones like Alzheimer's, which is what makes it absolutely a digestive problem, because it's aggravated by digestive issues, which is why you are what you eat, because you either are accelerating it or slowing it down, regardless of your symptoms. Regardless of where you are, everybody's on a spectrum, and you're either making it worse or making it better by the foods that you eat. And you're killing the cells in your spinal cord and in your brain, because they're connected straight through. It's a stress. So you have to make sure you're making healthy choices by eating healthy food. And healthy food is color-coded for you. Walk through an orchard, and it's hard to miss. It's like, Mother Nature color-coded them for you so you find them. Okay? And they're best eaten in season. Apples are best in the fall. Strawberries and blueberries are best in the spring. Peaches, plums, best in the summer. Pumpkins, squashes, best in the fall, winter. Certain foods you can eat year-round because they grow year-round. But if the tree can't produce it, you really shouldn't be eating it, because it doesn't work right in your body at that point. But this is better than Cheetos, hoo-hoos, yo-yos, ring-dings, ding-dongs, whatever the heck we invent. So I'd rather a fruit out of season than something created in a lab somewhere any other time of the year. Do you know what omega-3 oil is?
Fish oil.
Fish oil. It's a fish oil. And we call it fish oil because fish did the work. To convert an oil from a plant to this oil takes a lot of energy. It's like a 5% processing efficiency in the body. But the fish already did it for us. So when we eat them, we get their oil, and we just say, we stole it from them. Thanks for doing the work. And we eat it, so we get it from them. Where do the fish get this oil from? What are they eating that makes omega-3?
Algae.
Green leafy things. Perfect. So anything that soaks up the sun produces the chemicals in your body that are anti-inflammation. Algae do it as much as a garden does it for us. The fish eat the algae, we eat the garden. We do the exact same process. It's anti-inflammatory. It's very helpful for you. Everything in the middle of the grocery store, as Kim talked about, is pro-inflammatory because it's processed. It's artificial. It's not natural. Anything man-made is going to cause inflammation. This is true for the things they call foods as is for medicine. It's artificial. So you need to have anti-inflammatory oils to balance out the inflammation oils. And wheat and corn, you mentioned bread, are some of the worst inflamers in the body. Corn is 44 to 1 inflammation oil to non-inflammation oil. They're designed to be equal 1 to 1 in your body. So you need the inflammatory oils. They're very good for you. It's like 2x4s versus windows in a home. You need them both. But you want them in a balanced ratio. You don't want a house made out of glass any more than you want a house made out of solid walls. So in your body you want to have omega-3s and omega-6s. Everything in the middle of the grocery store is an inflammatory oil, basically. So you need to balance it out. And if you're imbalanced with your diet, you need to take a fish oil to balance that out. If you eat fish, you're good. If you eat a lot of garden salads and vegetables, you're good. But most people don't do either. So taking some kind of a supplement would help to balance that out. There's lots of different supplements you can get. Make sure they're very good and make sure you cut it open and smell it. A supplement, a fish oil, should never smell like bad fish. Because that means it's oxidizing. Which means it's not an antioxidant anymore. It's not benefiting you. It's an oxidant, which is bad. So always cut it open and just smell it to make sure they still are healthy in your body, and make sure they're synthetic free, and make sure they're corn free. Make sure there's no corn in there, because that completely would undermine the whole premise of why you're taking the darn thing. So just make sure you're careful. And next week, like I said, we're going to talk about vitamin D. And to me, this is a big controversy in America, because you'll hear doctors talking all the time about vitamin D and how to be taking it to add it in certain months of your year, and then mega dosing it, and they're finding that mega dosing suppresses cancer. It's a hot topic right now, but it's very misunderstood. So we're talking about vitamin D, but why vitamin D is important when you're eating well. Where does vitamin D come from? How do we make vitamin D?
The sun.
The sun. So how does that tie into food? How does that tie into healthy food?
Because they grow from the sun.
Green vegetables.
So the foods that you want to eat require the same sun that your body needs to digest the food from the sun. So to eat those foods without the vitamin D in your body, it's out of balance. It's not as healthy. So we're going to talk about vitamin D and what you can do, but just know you don't want to necessarily take a vitamin D. You want to get it naturally, normally. You can add it to it, but it's so much better for you, especially in the summer months. Just get it naturally. Much better for your body. And the last thing are probiotics. If you take an antibiotic, you have to take a probiotic. We are designed to have about 100 different strains of different kinds of bacteria in your gut. Most people have about 30. Which means we've killed about 70% of the variety in our guts. That's like killing 70% of the diversity. It's horrible for your body. The more diverse the bacteria, the more able you are to defend yourself against all sorts of different things that you come in contact with. So one of the best things you can do is try to put back some diversity. Each pill has about 15 billion. You're supposed to have 100 trillion. They're numbers most people don't really think about or understand. But most people in America have gut problems. People know what gluten-free means. I mean, who knew what gluten was 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Now everyone knows what gluten is. I always love when foods without wheat in it describe themselves as gluten-free. It's like, well, obviously. But gluten-free. Gluten-free is not the answer. Getting rid of the grain is the answer. So just understand that you need to put back the germs, the good bacteria, that break down the food that make your body healthy from the inside out. So making sure you take a probiotic, making sure you've got plenty of vitamin D, making sure that you've got supplements that round out your diet if you're not going to eat a good balanced diet in terms of a garden, are all critical things you can do to make sure that your body has sufficiency. Because as long as you've got sufficient amounts of Mother Nature, your body has the tools necessary to be healthy. And if it's not, it's because it's in an environment that's sick. So be aware of your environment, because the things that you're around and the things you put into your body, external and internal environment, is the sum total of how your body reacts. And the only way to ever get healthy is to clean them both up. So add in sufficiency and remove toxicity. Smartest, easiest, simplest way to be healthier, because then you are what you eat, and if you eat healthy, you can express and be healthy. So I don't know how many of those things that are bad, how many of those things that are good are on your weighted scales of balance for you. But just take out, you don't have to be crazy. You don't have to change everything. Take out something bad and add something good, and see what impact that makes. And when you start to feel different, you'll do it again and take off something bad and add something good. And it generates momentum that's sustainable for the rest of your life. So, eat well and get well soon.